different things. We've been studying Second Chronicles, Second Kings. We've been studying Jonah. We've been studying Micah. And what is this all about this quarter that we've been studying? Yeah, judgment of God's people. Yeah. Yep, and restoration. And the ones that Micah's talking to, are they going to see the restoration? Yeah, they're not going to see it. They're going to see the other part. So what do we know about Israel and Judah? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're two different countries. They're brothers, but they're still two different countries. Israel split off, and those tribes went north, and they didn't worship at the temple anymore. And the king set up a place for them to worship idols. So they were on the wrong track pretty much from the very beginning. And you're hard pressed to find a godly king in Israel from all the years they were separated. And then for Judah, they had some evil ones. They also had a good one, or at least a couple, I guess. But all that's coming to an end. It hasn't worked. They would say economically, it's great. Look how many jobs we got. Look how much money we're making. Look at the economy. Look at how much wealth we have. They would say things are going really well. But if you looked a little more closely and you looked at how people were being treated, people weren't being treated the way God had expected them to be treated. When Moses gave the law, there were some very specific things that they were supposed to do. And the leaders, the prophets, the priests, the kings, and the people that worked for the kings, they decided to do it a different way. And instead of focusing on God and focusing on the provider of everything, they pretty much just focused on themselves. And they focused on not blessing their brothers and sisters. They focused on getting as much out of them as they could get out of them. And it was about as bad as you could imagine. And we'll see more about that today on some specific examples. And what do we know about this message from Micah? Micah's got an interesting message for them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has a lot of prophecy. He has near-term prophecy. Things going to be bad. It's going to happen very soon. That kind of prophecy. But he also has positive prophecy as well. He talks about the coming of Jesus, the coming of the Messiah. And when I first read it, and I had read that verse, sometimes, Brother Jim, when you're preaching, you'll switch over and you'll bring a verse out of here or there, Micah. Well, we don't read the whole chapter of Micah sometimes when you do that. We just read the verse. But looking at the context, it seemed like a really interesting place to put that verse, talking to the Hebrews about all the things they had been doing wrong and the impending judgment. And then he gave that prophecy of the Messiah coming and where he would come. And it was a blessing for those that understood what it meant, that they would have something to look forward to, not in their lifetime, but they would have hope that that the Lord would be coming, and that the promise was still there, even though they were wicked, even though they weren't following God. The promise that God made David was still there. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 And the Lord hasn't forgotten the remnant. Yeah. Yeah, and He hasn't forgotten us, like you said. And sometimes we think, well, we're small. We're a small church. We got a few people. The Lord really care what we do? Yeah, He cares what we do. How many people have been saved in this church? Many. Many, many people have been saved in this church. Yeah, maybe more, right? Yeah. So, uh, yeah, the Lord has blessed us, and the Lord isn't focused on how big we are or whatever. He's focused on what are we doing? Are we obedient? Are we following Him? Are we doing what He wants us to do? Are we studying the Bible? When you come to church, do you study the Bible? Do we study the Bible? Darrell and I, we've been visiting lots of churches down in Tennessee trying to help Abby and Tyler and all that. And some churches, they don't look at the Bible. Or they don't look at but one verse in the Bible. What are you gonna learn from one verse? If you don't understand the context, if you don't understand what's going on, if you don't understand what God intended. Yeah. Well, I think it means this. I'd like it to mean that. Even Paul dealt with that in his time. We'll be studying that. Uh, so you all got your quarterly for next time. We'll be studying Corinthians, 2 Corinthians. We'll be working on our knots too, looks like. Or what is that? Is it macrame where you make the baskets out of the rope? My mom did that. Yeah, we'll be studying more about that. But we know the plan of salvation, there's one plan. That's it. There's one plan. We've been studying enough lately in the New Testament to see that over and over and over again. There's just one message. There's just one path. There's not many. It's not works. It's not, oh well, I did this many things or that many things. This people we're talking about here, they're not even focused on works. They didn't even get that far with it. They're focused on serving other gods. They're not even serving the Lord. So they're pretty far off the track. And the Lord has given them many, many chances over and over again, just like the Lord gives us many chances. Sometimes the Lord says, okay, that's enough. Time for judgment. And judgment is what gets our mind right. We can be judged to the point where we're just not here. The Lord can do that, and we see that lots of times in the Bible. We can also be judged that we learn, and the Lord teaches us, gets our attention, says, yeah, I think you should try to do something different. And if you're smart, you do. If you understand where the message is coming from, you definitely try to do that. Okay, so we've seen a lot so far in the first 2 chapters, and we're going to go through chapter 3, 4, 5 today. And so let's go ahead and read, if somebody could, chapter 3 in Micah, all the way up through verse 8. Thank you, Sister Debbie. So who do we think Micah is speaking to? Yeah, Hebrew leaders. Ahaz was around then, wasn't he? He's one of the most wicked leaders ever. This message is for him and really for all of those that were not following the Lord. In that first verse, is it not for you to know judgment? Is that really a question? Yeah, he's really saying, do you really think that you're going to get away with not following God and not be judged? If you look at the history of the Hebrews, you look at the history of your nation, you're more aligned to God than anyone. Or you have been. And so Micah's not mincing any words. He yeah. He, yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, look at Congress and governors and their salaries, their net worth. You know, when they started in that job, they didn't have much of anything. Now they're millions and millions of dollars. How does that happen? Yeah, yeah. So obviously nobody's managing in that situation. They're just taking it for themselves. In verse 2, who hate the good and love the evil, who pluck off their skin from off them and their flesh from off their bones. This is condemnation from the Lord. This is strong language to say you are doing it completely wrong. In all these things that you're doing and how you're treating the people, first of all, you're not spiritually feeding them anything. You've taken that away with idolatry and everything else. You put them on the wrong track. And then anything else they have left, you're just taking it. In verse 3, who also eat the flesh of my people and flay their skin from off them, and they break their bones and chop them in as pieces for the pot and as flesh within the cauldron. He's saying you're consuming your people. You're literally using them up. Just as if you were eating them like food for your own benefit. It's the same result. Then shall they cry unto the Lord, but they will not hear them. He will even hide his face from them at the time as they have behaved themselves ill in their doings. Thus saith the Lord concerning the prophets that make my people err, that bite with their teeth and cry, peace. And he that putteth not into their mouths, they even prepare war against him. So the prophets for the Lord, the priest, they're doing nothing. They're doing nothing. They are teaching it wrong. They're not teaching that God's way is the only way. They're going from one tradition that they have done in the past for God, and 5 minutes later go and worship an idol. Same people. They're just not treating anything about God any differently than anything else. And they're not teaching what the Lord intends them to teach. And so as a result of that, in verse 7, then shall the seers be ashamed and the diviners confounded. Verse 6. Night shall be unto you, and ye shall not have a vision. It shall be dark unto you, and ye shall not divine. And the sun shall go down over the prophets, and the day shall be dark over them. There won't be any messages from the Lord. The Lord is saying, I'm done. And this is Micah, a prophet, telling him that. I'm a messenger from God telling you, you're cut off. You're done. There's no more communication with the Lord. You haven't been wanting to do it anyway, but it's now gone. Verse 8, but truly I am full of power by the Spirit of the Lord, and of judgment and of might, to declare unto Jacob his transgression and to Israel his sin. He's making it perfectly clear that the Lord sent him to tell them about the impending judgment. Who would like to read verses 9 through 12? That's not very many. Thank you, Sister Helen. So he's talking about judgment on Jerusalem. He's talking to the heads of the house of Jacob, which is all the people, the prince of the house of Israel, that abhor judgment and pervert all equity. So all those things that they were taught by the law, on how to deal with each other, to work with each other. Remember all those things that we studied before about how you're supposed to do everything? There's such detailed information there about it. They said, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to do it our own way. And as a result of that, they've got judgment even wrong. They don't do that correctly on anything. They build up Zion with blood. And so they're grinding people into non-existence to build up themselves. And there's iniquity everywhere. There's idolatry everywhere. They talked about that earlier, or Micah did. The heads thereof judge for reward. Yeah, so they're going to court and saying, okay, which one are you going to pay me the most to make a decision in your favor? And that's what they're going to do. And the priests thereof teach for hire. Well, what do you want me to teach that God says is right? What do you like to do? What do you want to do? You tell me, pay me, I'll tell everybody that's what it's supposed to be. But clearly that's not the message from God. And the prophets thereof divine for money. Yet will they lean upon the Lord and say, is not the Lord among us? None evil can come upon us. So they're trying to do it. They're trying to do it both ways. They're trying to do it their way and then say some of the things that they would say if they were following God to get the people's attention. Because some people would believe, oh, okay, you're a priest, you're in that position because you're close to God and I'm supposed to do what you tell me to do. And so they're banking on it, literally banking on that. So as a result of all this, judgment is coming. Therefore shall Zion for your sake be plowed as a field. So what happens when you plow a field? Yeah, can you even tell what was there before it got plowed? They're building some apartments over by us, and there were trees and whatever, a little bit of prairie, whatever stuff in there. They got a few bulldozers in there. You can't even tell what it used to look like. It looks completely different. And you couldn't even put it back together the way it was before, even if you wanted to. You couldn't do it. You're just not able to do it. And so that's what's going to happen here to Jerusalem. Jerusalem shall become heaps, and the mountain of the house of the high places of the forest. And so everything's going to be broken down, everything's going to be stripped, everything's going to be taken. They will not see it as it was, and it won't even be theirs. It's not like a farmer plowing his own field. It's somebody else plowing it for their purposes. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unrecognizable by comparison, right? Yeah. Yep. And in this case, it's going to happen. And where these people are in history, it's certainly going to happen to them. So let's take a look at chapter 4. Someone would like to read 4, 1 through 8. Thank you, Sister Doris. So here we're seeing beyond what's happening here in the near term. Uh, we're seeing a prophecy here talking about the last days where the Lord will be the master of all. And it's really talking here about the millennial kingdom. And there's not going to be any wars. And it's not going to be because people say, well, you know, we think we don't need to go to war. They're going to think don't need to go to war because God is all powerful. There's no point. There's no point in it. There's nothing more to be gained in that time because Lord is providing everything. And when we walk in his paths and we do it God's way, he provides all the things for us. He shall judge among many people and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nations shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. And if you look at today, they're like, well, that's what we're going to do now. That's what the United Nations is going to do. That's what some of these other organizations are going to do. But they're not. They're not doing it. The Lord is the only one powerful enough to do it. And it'll happen in the millennial reign. And the Lord has told us it's not going to happen before then. But they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid, for the mouth of the Lord of hosts has spoken it. This is our Lord, Jesus, the King, as the ruler. And he's taking care of everything. And the people living there don't need to worry about any of that. All they're worried about is serving the Lord. All people will walk every one in the name of his God, and we will walk in the name of the Lord our God forever and ever. And that day saith the Lord, I will assemble her that halteth, and I will gather her that is driven out, and her that I have afflicted, and I will make her that halted a remnant, and her that was cast off, far off, a strong nation. And the Lord shall reign over them in the Mount Zion from henceforth forever and ever. And so, this is the Lord's plan. Who's going to change this? Mm-hmm. Satan. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Those that haven't accepted God and have no intentions of doing that. Yep. Okay, let's take a look at verses 9 through 13 in chapter 4. Thank you, Brother Homer. So before the kingdom comes that we just studied about, there's definitely going to be a battle. Brother Jim kind of alluded to it there, the Battle of Armageddon. And this is the battle of all against the Lord. And this message that Micah is telling is, even though it be the whole rest of the world, they will not be victorious in this battle. That God with Israel will be victorious, and that's going to be the end of it. In verse 13, arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thine horn iron, and I will make thy hoes brass, and thou shalt beat in pieces many people, and I will consecrate their gain unto the Lord, and their substance unto the Lord of the whole earth. So the Lord is having this battle, and he's strengthening Israel greater than they have ever been strengthened before. They won battles before, under David and under others, but this is like no battle they've ever been in before. And they're not going to win on their own strength. They're going to win on God's strength. God's going to strengthen them beyond anything anyone could ever imagine. We talk about the end times, and back in this time, they talked about the end times, and even the New Testament, they talked about the end times. We're still talking about the end times. But it's a lot closer than it used to be. And we might see it. Would any of us be surprised if some of these things were happening next week, next month, next year? Yeah. God told us how it's going to play out. So we shouldn't be surprised. We should prepare ourselves, and it's not by making weapons or any of those kind of things. We prepare ourselves by worshiping the Lord, serving the Lord, helping others to see that Jesus Christ can be their Savior too, and to help them so that they're prepared for this time also. If they're not on the Lord's side, they're not gonna make it through. Okay, let's take a look at chapter 5. We have a lot to cover today, 3 chapters. If we could go ahead and read chapter 5 and verses 1, 2, and 3. Thank you, Sister Debbie. There's so much information here in just these 3 verses, which you could say are 3 run-on sentences, but they have so much information. Now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. He hath laid siege against us. They shall smite the judge of Israel with a rod upon his cheek, upon the cheek. And so what does that mean? It looks like Micah's talking about the king that's there now. He's talking about the king Zedekiah in this case, that's going to be smite with a rod upon his own cheek with his own rod. So that means that king is gone. That king is done, and that whole nation is done. That's what's going to happen. Then verse 2. But, we always say that it's a big but. This is a big but in this case. Because this is looking forward to verse 5, chapter 5, verse 1. This is really, really bad. Verse 2, this is the best. This is what's going to happen. This is what you have to look forward to. Even though today is the worst, tomorrow is the best. But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me, that is to be ruler in Israel, whose going forth have been from old, from everlasting. Do you think they understood what Micah was saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah. From the everlasting, yeah. And it tells him he's the Son of God. It tells us by inference. And then Bethlehem. I think about Bethlehem and the size of that city, and when they say nothing ever good ever comes out of Bethlehem. One of my roommates in college was from Dittmer, Missouri. I had never heard of Dittmer. I said, where is Dittmer? He said, well, if you're driving through town, you might miss it if you blink too long. And I think Bethlehem's kind of like that. I think it was just not much at all to it. And this was where David came from. And this is where Jesus came from, here on earth. And so this prophecy from Micah, this is going to show up again in the New Testament. Therefore will he give them up until the time that she which travaileth hath brought forth, then the remnant of his brethren shall return unto the children of Israel. And this goes back to the remnant that are going to reunite with the Messiah for the second coming. And so Micah, just in a couple of sentences here, really gave a lot of insight into the fact that the Davidic covenant that was made with David years and years and years before this is still very much there. Something they probably never even, the people that Micah was talking to at the time, probably hadn't even thought of in a very long time. And just because we don't remember something God said he's going to do, God remembers what he said he's going to do. Sometimes we don't think of what he says to us in the Bible sometimes, and something happens. Oh, yep, that's in the Bible. Lord told us. Yeah. Yeah, he just made it very obvious. And don't you wonder that with kids too? You're raising your kids and you say, okay, don't do that. They're going to be in trouble. They're going to get whatever punishment. Do they ever do that thing that you told them not to do? Yeah, mostly every time. Mostly every time. Because they're testing to see, are you really going to hold to your word? Do you really mean it? And yeah, my parents, they pretty much really meant it. That's what I found out when I forgot sometimes, or thought I was gonna do better than I did. Okay, let's see, starting verse 4 here. And he shall stand and feed in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God, and they shall abide. For now shall he be great unto the ends of the earth. That's kind of beyond the people that Micah's talking to. That's kind of beyond their perception. To think that somebody's going to be that mighty to be able to be in charge of everything on the earth. And this generation that Micah's talking to, they haven't thought much about God and God's power. And Micah's reminding them of what's coming. And this man shall be the peace. When the Assyrian shall come into our land, and when he shall tread in our palaces, then shall we raise against him 7 shepherds and 8 principal men. And they shall waste the land of Assyria with a sword, and the land of Nimrod and the entrances thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from the Assyrian when he cometh into our land, and when he treadeth within the borders. And so what Micah's giving to these people, they're going to be overrun. They're going to be taken captive. He's trying to give them hope that the Lord hasn't forgotten about them and that these enemies will be vanquished. And the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people, as a dew from the Lord, as the showers upon the grass, that tarrieth not for a man, nor waiteth for the sons of men. And so this prophecy, so it says the dew from the Lord. So with all of our technology and all the things that we've done, do we do anything to control the dew? Whether it comes or it doesn't come? Nope. And the rain that comes, I know we seed the clouds, all that stuff. I know we do some of that stuff, but we don't control when the rain comes and the rain doesn't come. The Lord controls all that. That tarrieth not for man, nor waiteth for the sons of men. The Lord doesn't wait for anybody to tell him what they want or what he's supposed to do. He's the one that decides for all of us. And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who if he go through, both treadeth down and teareth into pieces, and none can deliver. Thine hand shall be lifted up upon thine adversaries, and all thine enemies shall be cut off. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, that I will cut off thy horses out of the midst of thee, and I will destroy thy chariots, and I will cut off the cities of thy land, and throw down all the strongholds. And I will cut off the witchcrafts out of thine hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers. Thy graven images also will I cut off, and thy standing images out of the midst of thee, and shalt no more worship the work of thy hands. And I will pluck up thy groves out of the midst of thee, so will I destroy thy cities. And I will execute vengeance and anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard. And so this message from the Lord, king after king after king never remove the graven images. Well, here's Micah saying, guess what? The Lord's going to remove the graven images. He's going to remove all of it. There's not going to be anything that's going to be left. And all those people that are serving Satan, the soothsayers, you're not going to have those. You're not going to have those to mislead people. And I'm going to take out all these places where you did worship the idols. They're going to be gone. So it's not just going to be all the idols. It's going to be all the things that they used that led them away from God. Lord is saying, I'm just take it away. I won't have it. So Micah's given a strong message, and he's telling them what's going to happen. The Lord is definitely watching their situation. He's had enough. Judgment is coming. The Lord hasn't forgotten about them. In the future, they're going to see the Messiah. They're going to see the millennial reign, and Israel is still there, but that's going to be Another lesson. We got one more lesson and Micah left, and then we got the next quarter. That's all for today.